Hello, I'm Connie Bird. I'm a Master Gardener and I'm here today in the Keene Park Sustainability Greenhouse, and I'm going to be talking about starting seeds from scratch. So why would you want to start seeds from scratch? Well, there's the pure enjoyment of putting seeds in dirt and watching the little plants emerge, and then getting food from your efforts early in the spring, later in the fall. Also, you can grow varieties that are unavailable in the grocery store. The grocery store tends to grow varieties of plants and vegetables that ship well and have long shelf life. They don't necessarily prioritize flavor. And so you can grow varieties that are different colors, different shapes, different sizes, and vegetables that don't necessarily have really long shelf life. In return, you're going to get vegetables that are super fresh, super tasty, and really nutritious. And you're going to be harvesting them at their peak. So you'll experience the full goodness of the vegetables beyond what you could possibly get in the grocery store. So what do you need to get started? Well, you need a few materials. And the first thing you need is some container to grow your plants in. These are specialty products for greenhouses, and they're readily available on Amazon. But you don't have to be really formal about this. Really, any container will do. Anything that's convenient. If you use round, like food containers, they don't stack efficiently. So if you're going to grow a lot of seedlings, you're going to want these professional kind of trays, just because they're very efficient about taking up space. So what I have here in this first setup is just what we call a 10-20 tray. And it's a 10-20 tray because it's 10 inches across and 20 inches long. And inside of them we put these little inserts, and these inserts, they come in a bunch of different sizes. These are about the biggest, but you can get smaller ones too. And you just put those inside the tray. And these inserts have holes in the bottom of them. These trays in particular are solid. They do come slotted too, but if you're going to put this on a table in the house, you're probably going to want a solid tray so it doesn't leak everywhere. So you just put the inserts into the tray. They come in different sizes. Like I said, you can get different kinds of trays. This is a tray for carrying like a 4-inch by 4-inch pot. These are a little bigger. So they do sell specialty trays that hold these pots securely and nice and neatly. So you need some sort of tray and some sort of pots. You obviously need seeds. So you can buy the seeds online. If you buy the seeds in small quantity, they tend to be fairly expensive. And most seeds you can save for quite a period of time. So if growing your own vegetables is something you're going to want to do year after year, it's okay to buy more seeds than what you can use in 1 year, because if you store them properly in some sort of a container or plastic box, and you put them in a closet out of direct sunlight, they're going to be just fine for years to come. Another handy thing to have is a humidity dome. And these are just clear plastic domes that you can buy. And when you start your seedlings, it's really nice to start them with the dome in place. Put the dome in place. And the reason why is that seeds like really constant moisture, and sometimes the trays can dry out quickly. So if you put a humidity dome on them, what you'll see is moisture condensate on the top of the dome. And you're going to want to keep enough moisture in there to keep some condensate on this dome. But the trick to using a dome is that at the first appearance of a seedling, you're going to want to take the dome off and leave it off. And you want to do that because when seedlings are small, they're really prone to something called damping off. And damping off is caused by a fungus, a soil-borne fungus. And so keeping the moisture level in the soil right is a little bit of an art. So you want to keep the soil uniformly moist, but you don't want it excessively wet. Not only can your plant suffer from damping off, but you can get these little tiny bugs called fungus gnats if it's too wet, and then you'll end up with a high population of fungus gnats, which generally aren't that bad, but they're not great. So now a medium for growing the seedlings in my bucket here, I have something called Pro Mix. And Pro Mix is a mixture of vermiculite, a compost, and peat moss. So when you want to fill your trays, what you do is you just scoop it in the bucket and fill up your pots. All right. And you can just take the whole tray, dip it in the bucket, and scoop in the growing medium. All right. Okay. You don't have to pack it in there. It's okay if it's nice and loose. I have this little tool. I really like this tool. It's called a Dipler. Some people call it a dibber. So I've heard it called both things, and it just has pointy little ends, and you use it to just make a little hole for your seeds. And that way you don't have to use your finger or a pencil, but you could. So I use my little Dibler to make a little indentation in the medium. And then you can go ahead and drop your seed in. Now usually I drop 2 seeds into each hole, and that's in case one seed doesn't work out. But that means later on you might have to sacrifice one of the 2 plants. But on the other hand, you don't end up with empty pots. So there you go. You put a couple seeds in each hole, and then I usually just use my fingers to cover them up a little bit. You don't have to squish them down at all. That's not necessary. So sometimes I even just tap the tray just to cover up the holes. All right. And then the last thing I want to tell you about is that sometimes I use a germination mat. Now you don't have to use these, but your seeds won't germinate unless they're above a certain temperature. So they sell these mats called germination mats, and they come appropriately sized for a 10-20 tray. And you just plug these in, and it just raises the soil temperature up a few degrees, and that just urges the seeds, along with the moisture, to go ahead and let them know that it's time for them to sprout. You can leave the heat mat in place for probably 2 or 3 weeks. There's no hurry to remove the heat mat. The plants will enjoy the increased soil temperature. But if you have a lot of trays you're trying to germinate and you need that heat mat, once they're up, it's okay to go ahead and move it to another tray. And then all you have to do is wait. Some seeds are slower to germinate than others. Notoriously slow germinators are peppers. They have really tough seed coats, but on the other hand, their seeds probably stay good for a really long amount of time. So if you're going to germinate peppers and maybe some other plants that I'm not thinking of right now, you might want to soak the seeds for a day before you try to plant them. That can be a technique that can, bring the germination a little quicker. But mostly you just need to be patient. Just watch them every day. Watch the moisture content, and just keep your eyes open for their little sprouts coming up in the growing medium. So that's about all I have to tell you about starting seeds today. So go ahead and give it a try. In these times of a little bit of uncertainty, a lot of people are finding comfort and security in growing their own food. So go ahead and start some seeds and enjoy watching them grow. Okay, thanks.